Oh
This
boy.
is after the Super Bowl, and
Yeah.
we enjoyed the Super Bowl victory by the Philadelphia Eagles. Obviously, we're in that market. We kind of live in the area. And so, if you tuned in today of watching the Philadelphia Eagles
Correct.
parade in Center City, um, which is downtown Philadelphia, that was nice to see. Um, our predictions came true of
Yeah.
what was going to happen in the Super
I,
Bowl.
I, 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 we, uh, we, you did talk about could be a boot out too. Yeah, boot out.
It's everything that I knew was gonna happen.
Yeah.
And I know some people were like, look, the Super Bowl's rigged, the NFL's rigged and this, that, and the other. But look, as I have been explaining to him, just strategy on football. And if you go back to our video before the Super Bowl, we talked about what a defense role is and what a defense need to do. The Philadelphia Eagles defense single-handedly owned Kansas City's offense. They were not built to be able to compete against that defense. And you take any number one defense in the league and you go throughout, you just rewind, go back in time, they've literally have helped win every single championship for every team that got there. And it's how you're built. Now, some teams, which I'm going to get into as far as their strategy, because all 32 teams or 31 teams or whatever it is should have the same format. Financially, they mismanage their money because they're not interested in building something long term. Um, they want to go ahead and basically a quick solution, right, to keep filling seats instead of actually building something that's absolutely going to be guaranteed to perform every weekend for their fans. And that's called, giving your fans their money's worth, right? And we see it with corporate America. A lot of corporations, they built a name at one point. Their name, everything was their reputation of what they represented, and people went and purchased their goods from them based off the quality of the product they were getting. Right? Well, no longer in capitalism of America, right? Everybody now is just about trying to get a quick buck and can care less about the quality of materials. That applies right here because the NFL, whether you guys, I know it's sports entertainment, but it is a business. And I'm going to tell you, the CEOs that are running those businesses, hate to say the word, but SUCK, 100%, except for those who actually produce great product every single season. And that requires for somebody that's one, not just willing to pay the players that they have on their franchise, but understand future wise a 10-year plan, right, of what you want and how you plan to project. And these guys absolutely, the Eagles organization have done this consistently. This is why they've been to the playoffs as many times as they have out of the NFC East. This is why they've consistently have competed, and they've made more attempts to get to the Super Bowl in the last several decades than the Cowboys, than the Giants, than the Commanders slash Redskins. Those other three franchises in the NFC East, just they're all about filling their wallet, and that's all they wanted to produce for their franchises. And so, congratulations to the Eagles. Congratulations to Barkley um, for going out and making it happen. But for those Kansas City Chiefs fans, I'm sorry that you guys were misled by your organization. Good organization, good ownership there, but definitely was not built to face this particular Philadelphia Eagles team. They had the number one defense. We knew that probably by week 5 or so, based off the stats, that defense was what it was. And when the calling came, when they went against number 2, which was the Ravens, and they beat them, okay, they physically beat them, okay, That should have been a wake-up call for around the league. Everybody was watching Detroit, and Detroit did a phenomenal job, and hopefully they continue to do that for their Detroit friends, their fans, this coming 2025 season and on. Hopefully they had a 10-year plan. But what we seen from the Eagles was steady and consistency through the entire season. And the Chiefs, although their record reflected that they were the best number one team, right, in the league, their schedule didn't reflect that, right? Because when you look at the AFC, there's all but the Buffalo Bills, which was the one team that legit beat them in the regular season. There's no team, no quarterback, no coaching on the AFC side, whether it's in their division or any other place else in the NFL, truly hands-on could have gone toe-to-toe with that Chiefs team. They would have lost. It would have been just as we've seen all season. But when you look at the NFC side, and I know people are saying, well, what's the difference? What's the difference? But when you look at the NFC side, the NFC teams had a little bit of a better balanced schedule, meaning a mixture of what they were seeing from both AFC and NFC, which made the games great, right? The Chiefs didn't have that this year. For whatever bizarre reason, they did not play a significant amount of NFC teams. And if they did, they certainly wasn't the ones that were going to give them a run for their money. This season, I believe 2025, that's not going to be the case. And there'll be a much stronger, better physical game. I believe, like if we go back to the Rocky movies and Rocky 3, if anyone have seen those movies, what was said when Mr. T's character was challenging him, wanted the title, because he knew that Rocky had been fighting lesser fighters. And he racked up a whole bunch of knockouts. He looked like a fantastic, on paper, it looked like unstoppable. But then when the challenger was like, look, step in the ring with me, man, I'm ready. That was it. It's the exact same thing. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs had a nice floaty season. They walked through that season. And instead of the press, the everyday press, ESPN, all of them, they never questioned how these guys were because they looked at them from the season before. And then, lo and behold, here comes the Philadelphia Eagles. Whack! Nobody expected that. And the one thing I told him before we finished that video was, do not leave it to the officials. You go in there and you beat them. Because we all seen all season long and the last 2 seasons, even the last 2 Super Bowls, that they had been getting help. And even the very first play of this Super Bowl, we seen that poor officiating call for offensive pass interference on Brown. It was just like, come on, here we go. We're starting already. Well, coach gave them a message, told them to go out there, take the gloves off. Let's show these guys and let's make sure there's not even a possibility that these guys can come back and win this game. And they needed that spanking. They needed it. They needed it, the rude awakening, because they were on cloud 9. These guys thought they were truly untouchable. And I'll say it doesn't matter what the team is. Unfortunately, it was those 2 teams. But when you have a defense that have a front 4 that can penetrate without coming up with a blitzing scheme, right? They don't have to hide. They can just usually use their 4 men to push. You got problem in hand. But if you got that kind of defense, you also got to have the kind of defense on the back end. Your safeties, your corners, your linebackers, they have to be able to hold. Because if they can't, and I don't mean hold your player and cheat, I'm talking about be able to do their role. If they can't play their role and there are less of, you're going to get beat on the back end. And that means a real good quarterback is going to pick you apart. And they're going to keep moving the ball. So you can't just have front 4, and you can't just be hard in the middle, and you can't just be hard on the end. You got to have it all. And the Eagles did a really good job because, remember, in 2023, what failed them was their defense. Now, they fired both offensive defensive coordinators at the end of that season and almost got their head coach fired too, because I'm going to tell you, I distinctly remember my son and all of Philadelphia, they wanted him out. And I kept saying, be patient, be patient. They didn't even want to give him another chance. They wanted him out so bad. But their defense collapsed due to injuries, and they wasn't able to compete, and they got eliminated. And then in the offseason, they made a couple of key moves, and guess what? It made a big difference, and they went on to be the #1 defense. Whoever's going to be the #1 defense next year, if they even got somewhat of a decent offense, the defense should be able to carry them if indeed they can stay healthy. On the offensive side, why Kansas City's defense was not a good matchup against the Philadelphia Eagles, you had multiple weapons on that offense. Now, this is what the press did talk about during the regular season when they were comparing who was better, Detroit, Minnesota, or the Eagles. And then when we look at the fact that they had an elite running back that was added to that program, oh my God, that made a big difference than what you would see in Detroit or what you have ever seen in Minnesota. Their running backs aren't bad, but they certainly ain't no Barkley. That's for sure, right? So that was a huge weapon. And the Kansas City defense, they had to make a choice. They were built to blitz and blitz and blitz because being a New York fan all these years with the Giants and all, the one thing Steve Magnolia was always good at was putting pressure on quarterbacks. He always blitzes, and he does a real good job of disguising his blitzes, right? And he very complex defense, but that wasn't going to work. They should have knew from watching film that week that they just before the Super Bowl. They should have paid attention. If they truly looked at film and broke down film, he knew he was going to have his hands full. There was no way. You either had a choice. You either let Barkley run, and he would have destroyed you single-handedly, or you got torched by the receiving core and Jalen Hurts. And that's going to bring us to Jalen Hurts and how the league but the press have viewed him all this time he's been in NFL. Now, we remember the last time in 2022 when he went to Super Bowl and he faced the Chiefs, he ended up losing. He took it all in. He took responsibility. I remember his exact words of what he said to the press. He took responsibility for the loss, even though it really didn't solely fall on him. He took that responsibility and he said, I'm going to improve and I'm going to get myself back here. And that's what he did. But when you look at overall physical stats, he's legit. Numbers for numbers, pound for pound, he's right there with any Mahomes, any Lamar, Josh Allen, Goff, any of those guys. He's right in that pack. May not be pretty in the sense that all the stuff like Lamar and them do, but the guy gets it done. He got it done in college, whether he was in Alabama or whether he was in Ohio State, but he got it done. This formula fits for the Eagles. It's not gonna work for everybody, and the very impressive season from him and his teammates. And that organization, solid across the board. And this should be a model for any other organization and all the owners. And I'm talking to the owners now, not the coaches, not the GMs there, because you're the ones who are paying out. It's your product of what it is you want to see that next season. And you got to invest. I mean, you guys didn't get to be billionaires overnight, right? You guys are very successful people. Remember how you got to be that success and transfer that on to your franchise, because I see a lot wrong. And I can go by franchise that are just poorly. And I'm not just a fan, like legit businessmen, as men, business, money. You guys aren't living to the standard you could be and could be making more money out of that organization if you guys were able to invest the correct way and put people in the right place. And I ain't talking about your players yet. We ain't even get into that because we got the draft coming up. We're just talking about business, the people who are running the front office, the people who are making the decisions from your command. Poor decision making consistently. And I'm going to tell you, I'm afraid those New York Giants is going to make another bad decision. Because here's the thing. Wait, before we get all crazy, here's the thing about that. Right, so in the news right now for free agency, we know that the Rams, supposedly the rumors are they want to offload Stafford, right? And there's been talk they want that number 3 spot. Well, who owns the number 3 spot? It's the New York Giants. Well, let me tell you something, right? You guys made some real bad, and I know, Brian, you only been there for a second. You ain't been there that long. Well, let me tell you, bad decisions. It's been bad for more than a decade. Okay? You keep trying to put a Band-Aid on and you keep ripping it off, Band-Aid on, rip it off. Stop. Even if it's going to cost you your jobs at the end of this 2025 season, right? If you come up with a 10-year plan to build that team, and you're going to have to sit down with the ownership, maybe he'll keep you based upon the performance of this year. But if you make a move and you bring Stafford in, he wants to get paid. You bring Winston in, he wants to get paid. Right now, they're seeing you guys as free money. You guys are throwing money away. Russell Wilson, these guys, they're not there to win you a championship. Because if they want to win a championship, they certainly wouldn't be looking at your organization, because you guys are pretty far away from legit being a consistency franchise, not a quick fix. You can do a quick fix. Any team can do a quick fix right now, put the right components in the right places, and they can be in that Super Bowl for the 2025 season in 2026 at the Super Bowl next year on NBC, right?
Yeah. Or ABC, Peacock, whatever.
Right.
February 8th
Of 2026.
Who will be around
The league,
the
right?
league.
And that's coming in the next couple of weeks. We already see there's been chatter. I mean, the Super Bowl ain't even been a week, and you already have franchises and quarterbacks. But I'm just going to tell you right now, if you're the New York Giants, if you remember, right, the owners of the Giants, understand this. You need to build something that's going to be competitive for the next 10 years. Do not come with no quick solutions, because the fans deserve better. And what that means is you need to get yourself a franchise quarterback. That's what you need. You got 2 teams in your division, actually 3, believe it or not, because I know Cowboy fans don't really want Prescott, but that's their franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
And there's no changing that. The contract the man has is what it is. He's going to retire a Cowboy. And I hate to say that to Cowboy fans, but Jerry agreed to that. That's the contract the man has. But when we look at Daniel, which is the newcomer to the division, they're going to build around him. He has a brand new owner, right, to this franchise, and they're going to build something, and they're going to be very competitive in the next 5 years, easily. Okay? So if he's able to stay healthy, he's not running wild and crazy, blow out a knee or anything like that, and he's able to stay healthy, guess what? The Commanders are now competing with the number 1 team in NFC, which is the Eagles. And that's because when we look at what the Eagles have done, if you dissect it, it started with the front office and the way they draft and the players. And then there's a setting that when the players come there, because you don't hear about a lot of off-field drama coming out of Philadelphia. The players aren't getting themselves in trouble. It's stability. There's a foundation there. And when we look at that same foundation, if we go further north to New England, same exact thing, right? So you have Belichick there, but he's gone. But that foundation is there. Whether he never comes back there or whatever, they would literally have to clean the entire house and start all over again. That foundation is there. It's never going to change. And when every player get drafted or free agent, walk into that facility, they know what's expected. And they represent the Patriots. Even if they came from another team, they're going to tell them, look, don't look, when you come in here, here's what we expect. That needs to be in every single franchise. There needs to have that same exact dynamic foundation, and that construction needs to be there, that as these players walk through the doors, here's what you guys are bringing to the table. And then we need to see that success consistent year in and year out in every division, every team, all the time. Invest. Don't be quick. Don't do it. You got 3 quarterbacks that are literally verbally telling you, well, 2 out of the 3 are saying, look, I want to go to New York. I want to go to New York. No. No. Hear me? No. No. Get yourself somebody that's going to be there for the next 10 years. That's what you need. And even if that means you have a struggling season through 2025, but plan, like legit plan for the future. Don't make no rash moves because you got the owner breathing down your neck and you're sweating. Literally go home. You have what, 4 months? You got 4 months to come up with a business plan. A business plan. Hear what I'm saying? Business plan. How that team is gonna elevate, what your expectations are, and how you're gonna get to a Super Bowl. And then from there, you guys will be back in the mix. But right now, you guys need a franchise quarterback. No quick Band-Aid fixes there. And that goes for a couple of the teams that actually are in this situation, right? How many teams did that went 3-14 this past season or whatever it was? It was quite a bit. The most in a really long time, or the most ever for the NFL. Stop. Because this applies to all of you. It ain't just New York. Do what's right. And sit down and realize what you physically need that's going to be a helping tool for this season. Even if it's not going to get you a championship. If it's just going to help you compete. So you're competing. And if you get to the championship, that's wonderful with the talent you have on your roster. But look for what's going to get you there, and make sure the players that come in here understand that, and that's what they want too. That they're not just there to grab the money.
Okay, we now move on to free of 2025. The 2024 over, and we now move on to go on to the draft.
Yep.
What a year the 2024 year. We now move on to the 2025 year. So, after what day, the Eagle. After what day, after the Eagle win the Super Bowl, they grab the obstacle from the Eagle. Tell me more. I'm gonna meet you. He bring out
To the table, yeah.
to the table to get to a Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl. But it's good for him. It's good for him to make his career bigger. He was waiting for this. He was waiting for a head coach gig. After the top boy had to over here, she can go down and she go, hey, maybe he get good up there because the Eagle win a Super Bowl. So we got
he has to bring what he learned under the team he had in Philly. I'm pretty sure he's going to probably look for what he can get around the league and try to build something there. But he needs a good GM who also has that same process and want to do the same thing. Because remember, the GM is going to be his boss, right?
Yeah.
And if the GM has a different idea or direction where he wants to go to, guess what? It don't matter how good of a coach he is. The wheels are coming off the bus.
It's gonna be a new team.
It's gonna be just not a good team.
It's gonna be
and so
a good one.
Hopefully he will be able to establish it there.
Hopefully.
Again, I believe all NFL fans deserve for their franchises to bring something to the table week in and week out. We can only expect better football each year from the league and NFL. But you have to have owners that are legit willing to actually invest in a team. They got to go back to, especially if they're an older guy like for the Giants, Mora, right? he's been involved since because it was in the family for so long. Go back to the joy that it was that got you going, that you want to bring that to the table. Go back to the basics. Whenever we have a struggling business, and I know my son ain't into business just yet, but when you look at businesses, when they start going down the wrong path and you start looking at your number and you start looking at the logistics, you got to go back to basics. That's the quickest way to fix anything. You go back to basics. And hopefully the Saints will have that with their new head coach, who just held up the little Vince trophy. Let's borrow it. I'm so tongue-tied right now.
About a trophy.
And can bring that good spirit to New Orleans and have those fans rocking and rolling next year.
For each team had a coach. If you forgot who ever picked a picture of that is remember picture of from the head coach from the year college what
Patriots, Jets.
Patriots get I like the league, but the best thing for Peter he got a Super Bowl and a college ring.
Championship, yeah.
Yeah, we also had the Patriots new head coach Mike Whitmore from a player, from a coach for the Patriots. He went to the Titans, almost went to Super Bowl with the Titans, but he is a good head coach. We also had the bear from offense called
From Detroit.
from Detroit. Bear
Came from a good football program.
Good football program almost went to Super Bowl. Yeah. What year ago? This year almost there. You got a good we had former defense coordinator from Detroit, Eric Graham, and the Jacksonville the offense coordinator for Tampa Bay. I knew a team, right? No, talk about hey.
Yeah, we're talking about the Saints now, so yeah.
Yeah, that's all the team pick up what it was and so the whole
Yeah, and we're gonna be watching, and not just watching, because we're sports talk, but we're gonna be watching to see how these coaches fare into this 2025 season, and it's all gonna start with this off season. So right now, like we're already on top of what's going on. Some more news, what's happening. Obviously, if you haven't heard, the Jets have moved on from Aaron Rodgers. They're gonna go in a different path, rightfully so. He's a quarterback that is at the tail end of his career. At some point, he is going to retire, whether he plays another season this year or he calls it quits now. But then they brought in Higgins to assist, which ended up being a great weapon for the Jets at the time. Well, he's now, looking to move on possibly, and rumors are maybe San Francisco. If I'm San Francisco, focus on your defense. Seriously, focus on your defense. Your offense, you might need one or two pieces of running back because obviously McCaffrey, again with the legs, he runs so hard. Okay, so but you need a defense that's going to stop people, because I'm going to tell you, the last 3 Super Bowls you win, if you had the right defensive players in there, guess what would have happened? You guys would have held on and won those games. And that's a shame, because you'd have been to 3 Super Bowls and lost 3 Super Bowls back to back to back. And sorry, I know, Shanahan, you were there for 2, and Harbaugh, you were there for 1. And they were all great Super Bowls for us, entertaining. we didn't know. Everybody was at the edge of their seat, didn't know who was going to win, but they would have been resolved if the defense was able to hold and get pressure on the quarterback and win the game.
I remember awesome.
You got you got Trey Smith.
He get out of Kansas.
Yes.
The Dolphins.
Javon's Holland. You got
the cornerback.
DJ Reed, and you got Sam Donald from the Vikings quarterback, which is available.
Yeah.
And this is just the beginning, right, to kick off this 2025 season. Obviously, Russell Wilson may not be back with the Steelers. And now the Rams may be talking about trading Stafford because they want to move up in the draft. And all I'm just going to say again, back to the Giants, don't fall for the bait. Let it be Tennessee. They got the first overall pick. Stick to the plans in the war room there. And I hope it's good strategy, what you guys got going on in that war room. We will be watching for this draft. Trust me when I tell you. But let it be Tennessee or Cleveland. Because Cleveland just needs a quarterback. To be honest with you, they were competitive this season before, right? Because they brought, oh my God, I can't think of this man's name. Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
From out of retirement. They brought him in, right? And he was able to basically get them into the playoffs for a guy that was out of the season. I mean, out for some time. Took them to the playoffs, and they were, they got beat up by the Texans. Yeah. But at the end of the day, that's truly what their biggest hurdle has been quarterback.
Okay.
So maybe they get Stafford, and he goes back to another Super Bowl. Right, it'll be the first ever for Cleveland. But there's enough talent in Cleveland, both offense and defense. They can be very competitive in their division real quick. So they don't need. I don't want to call it a Band-Aid. They know what they need. The Giants, you are some time away. You're legit some time away, and I get it. You went to the playoffs just a couple of years ago. But honestly, my son would tell you when we were off camera, I was stunned. Because honestly, talent-wise, I felt like you guys were missing more than half a team. And not to disrespect any of the men that play there, but honestly, when I've looked at what you guys have done in the past compared to that season, I was really surprised that you guys made it as far as you did. And I gave kudos to you, Coach, because that was you. That was legit you. You came in with a plan, and you wanted to lay out a foundation because you came from a winning organization who have laid out a foundation, and you wanted to establish that. Do not get off track. I get it. Again, pressure is on you. You got to win now. But if you establish the right key components there, it'll stay in place intact for some time. Even if it's not 10 years, maybe it's 5 years, but at least within that 5 years, maybe you go to 2 Super Bowls, not just 1. Don't look for a quick fix. Be smart about it. But so we have Stafford. We got Aaron Rodgers. And I'm pretty sure there's more. You got Derek Carr now from the Saints. You have Winston, which was in Cleveland. This is just on the quarterback end. The next video we do, I will be able to show potential possibility picks for New York as far as quarterback end and maybe their future franchise quarterback. Just, again, be smart. Be smart with your wallet. Be smart what you pick because you will reap the rewards, good or bad. Trust me, if you pick the wrong people to bring it to New York.
Free agency is a couple of weeks away. So, this is just the beginning of the him move. I still remember took the whole thing to figure out where he got into real to get. But before that, We don't know where he go.
Right. The press was all over him about it, and they wanted to know. They wanted to know. It's a shame it didn't really work out the way we thought it
Yeah,
would
I'm
be
sure.
him in
Yeah.
New York for the Jets. But with that being said, look, I have no doubt that now Coach Glenn, because remember, he was a
Yeah.
defensive back for the Jets, and he came into a real football program with another one. I can't think of his name right now. Uh, the coach that was there. Oh my God, shame on me.
Dad kept down.
What?
Dad.
No,
No, and not the head coach for Detroit.
no.
Oh.
Not when Glenn was a defensive back. He was a player in the league.
Oh.
He got drafted by the New York Jets.
Oh.
That's why he's happy to be back in New York. And his coach was Rex Ryan. Sorry, that's who I was trying to get out. Rex Ryan, that was his head coach. And they built something there. They had a football program, and they were very competitive for 4 years that he was there. And they competed against Tom Brady and them. Tom will tell you, listen to his stories. He'll tell you he did not like going against that Jet defense and Rex Ryan. And so he's going to bring something special to New York. I think he will absolutely get the Jets, right. But ownership has to understand, look, don't be flashing the money. Don't be like, some of these people that be on social media, look at all the 20s and 100s and whatever, right? Look, keep that in the vault. Make some smart moves, right? Pick the right talent that's going to be based on what you want to represent. What do you want the Jets to look like going into 2025? And your coach, who once played there, he's going to probably want to establish that, which is what they did in Detroit. They took a franchise that has had decades of heartbreak and disappointment there. And for the last 4 seasons, they turned it around. And that's amazing. And I'm not saying that he's going to be able to fix the Jets in 1 season, but I will say this, that if you guys build something, at least one Big Apple team will be competing right away. That's all, because the Jets defense wasn't that bad. They just need a couple of pieces. And on the offense, you got some young talent here. You need a quarterback.
Yeah.
And so hopefully you guys will
hopefully I get it when you look up and
invest.
don't forget, don't be a new look up and I bet that we all need people a quarterback. We don't need that call to go to the Jets. We don't need whatever if you go to the Jets.
Or the Giants.
Or New York. We don't need
Because my question would be, the minute they're out publicly making these announcements, why you want to come here? What honestly, and I'm not being disrespectful, because these, Russell Wilson won a championship, right? Matt Stafford won a championship, right? Gifted. But my question would be to you, being at where you are in your career at this point, why us? We're not there yet. We're not there yet. And I know that there's a level of pride. Everybody want to think they're there, but you're not there yet. And even Belichick said it himself. He could not have won those Super Bowls without the talent that they've had.
And not top.
So it wasn't just Tom. Tom was a huge factor. But they over and over and over brought talent into the Patriots. You had Randy Moss. You just consistently go down the Rodney Harrison. You can just go down a list, right? And once upon a time, the Steelers, they're not there either. They're you keep getting back to the playoffs, and this is my message to Mike Tomlin. Look, your fans want you out, just like Philadelphia was beating up their coach. I'm just telling you, bro. Swallow your pride. And football, because you were a player before you became a coach. And you came from some pretty good programs. And you won a championship there. You know what you need. You just got to swallow your pride, bro. And you need to bring home a championship once again, being that you guys host more trophies than anybody else. Well, you're tied with the Patriots, but you were the first team
Yeah.
to win 6 championships in the NFL. But if you intend to be not complacent, you intend to be successful, then that requires for you to truly put your pride away and coach those men up. Get yourself a good quarterback. If you have somebody that you're sticking with, your young quarterback that you took, use them.
Okay. The top of it, not when we all to the draft. At the top was
Wants to trade that pick.
going to take that pick. Could be took around. Oh, I got a rumor.
Well, that was no rumor. That's literally from their organization. Because again, when they made all the moves they made a season ago, right, and they let go of Henry and a bunch of their talent, they knew they were going to be saving money and they're going to have money for their salary cap, right? So they went through this phase now, and now they have a lot of young talent there, and now they just need to build on that, and that's what their intentions are, right? So if they're able to unload that first overall pick, because they have something else in mind, maybe they will get a Derek Carr or Aaron Rodgers or a Stafford or a Russell Wilson or whoever they need for the time being, because maybe the 2026 draft, they're looking to grab somebody, a young man, out of that draft. Then they can get through this season without like blowing the season. Like really be competitive, but know that in next year's draft, they have intentions to get XYZ. It's a smart strategy. I only say that because when I look at the teams that are 3-14, truly the worst team of the 2024 season was the New York Giants. Although you've fallen into third place in the draft, you really should have been that first overall seed. And that's because you guys for some time truly needed some revamping in your organization, and you guys been dragging your feet to get that done, and it's now caught up to you. So I think the Titans and Cleveland are going to be in a much better situation going into the 2025 season than New York. I would love for the Giants organization to prove me wrong, but I've already said you guys ain't gonna probably win a game next year. And I was saying that in this 2024 season, and everyone was saying in my head that I was cuckoo. I didn't know what I was talking about. Right? What did you say, right? You said it. You were the first one that said it. Before we even went, live with our first preseason episode to start football, when y'all told you that, you laughed so hard. You was like, I don't know about that. They're going to get at least 1 or 2. And I told you, I'll be really surprised, especially after looking at their schedule, if they were to win the game. No, I wasn't. Everybody else was surprised at how bad they were.
You were at the part.
No, I wasn't. I truly wasn't. When we seen that first preseason game when Daniel came back, it was like, oh my God. Like, okay, I get it. He was rusty. He was out. He was injured. Okay, let's see what happened weeks 2 preseason. I said that all that I had thought of came true. And I don't want to make fun of them, but it's like, look, I don't want to see your 2025 season start off this way. So you do have a couple of good pieces within that organization. And like I explained to him, if he was an owner of a franchise or whether he's playing John Madden, if he picks a bad team on John Madden, the quickest fix is always defense. Defense costs a little less money than the offense because quarterbacks seem to be getting this dumb, ridiculous amount of big, giant paychecks for whatever reason, whether they're good or not. They're getting these dumbfounded paychecks. But defense is a little less expensive to fix. But if your defense can compete and you could be in that top 5 as a defense, even if your offense is not as great, guess what? If the defense can get turnovers if the defense can score, if the defense can give the ball back to their offense multiple times, which increases your chance to score, and you got a good kicker, guess what? You're competitive. And then you can slowly build your offense. For your offensive-minded coaches, defense, defense, defense. Invest in your defense, and you will go far.
Okay. When I'm watching that, watching that, after free
Oh boy!
we be live. What?
A kid in a candy store.
We be live.
A whole bunch of coffee.
Bishop. No.
We're not doing 3 hours.
We're not gonna do
We're not going to
the whole
cover the
thing.
entire first round, which is 3 hours.
Yeah.
This isn't ESPN or the NFL Network.
Whoa, picture that begin. Now, put the April 24th, that day, and then we'll get at the altar. You have the top and pull out now. Do you know what could be moved around a little bit? We don't know yet. But for it to see this hotel. Number 2 is the Brown. Number 3 is that is number 4 is the Patriot. Number 5 is that one. Number 2 is the Let's Get Rooster. Number 7 is Jeff. Number 8 is Cat and Panther. Number 9 is the E. This is gonna be a big draft for the new head coach.
Yep.
And then number 10 will be the best. This is we will cover the first 10 picks.
Yes,
That is.
first 10 picks.
So,
We will watch the rest of the draft. We're
Yeah.
just going to be covering it. And then when we do our next video, we'll go over
Yeah.
how those teams did in the first round. And then, of course, when the draft is completed, right, all 7 rounds are done,
What is
we'll
the
talk
big-
about which teams benefited the most from this draft. Good luck to everybody out there. And I hope you guys, I hope truly in my heart, you guys really have a good strategy for what's happening. And I'm going to tell you, if you guys don't have good scouters, you need to find new ones, because there's talent all over this country. These kids, they're talented. So, you know what I like, right? We know that Alabama's consistent as a university. How many Alabama players is on your team right now?
a lot.
At the first meeting,
We can go over right now. Let me give it to you. What I remember kid. He got back, and then he was to be moved to Oklahoma, and then with the kid of his career in Oklahoma. With the agreement of Brock Purdy and
that was a fantastic bowl game.
the
You got
unbelievable.
Smith,
Yeah.
who
We have
played.
so often we have so much going on. Yeah.
No, that might be like high school. Is it? No,
Yeah.
it's Philippines. Right? Yeah, that's what it is.
We have so much going on. Yeah, here. That is beautiful. That is
Yeah,
beautiful.
that's another university.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna wink, wink. New York, you need to wink, wink.
Oh.
Start looking at these
Okay.
these universities, because they're producing
Okay.
good players.
I really think a foot on
Guard,
God.
offensive line.
Good. I want a good put in the Super Bowl.
Dickerson.
Yeah.
Just so you guys, if you're not familiar.
Like Oklahoma too.
Yeah, these are Memphis. These are universities. I mean, like, come on. When you bring in these kids, they come from solid programs. They're likely to give that same performance if you have a solid program at your organization.
Rick,
yep. Rick's
cornerback, yeah. Like good. Did you take the blue for real? Everybody.
You got the tight end.
Yeah, the tight end. A beautiful tight end. Yeah, but the GM left a future.
And you got young defensive tackle. So when you look at this, and I look at what Alabama produces, and it's every season. Every season.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And the same thing with Georgia and everything else. If that's not on your draft board, if those universities ain't high on your draft board, there's a problem, because that means you're not there to produce a championship team, because those schools are competing year in, year out, and they're getting to these bowl games, and those players are going to want to win a trophy. They want the payday too, but trust me, they'll be happier if they're able to get themselves to a championship.
Okay, can we keep that for the cases like that? We could see a quarterback getting more. Don't know what.
Well, look, I have no doubt that even if New York and get their hands on him, because they can't get Sanders, that's if everything stays in play, right? Let's say Tennessee's not able to unload their first round pick, and Cleveland isn't interested, and they stay at number 2. New York can still pick him, because look, at the end of the day, I know he's not rated as high as Sanders and Cam, but he's a pretty good quarterback, and he's coming out of a good program, right? He's going to have his flaws, but I promise you, New York, that he's going to be worth it. So if you guys skip him, especially if you can't get 1 and 2, you skip him, shame on you guys.
We got all right.
We got Booker, which is an offensive line, also looking to be plucked in the first round. And then you have Lawson, linebacker. You got Moore, safety. Jackson, cornerback. You got Sab, safety. You got Brailford, center. And then you have Campbell at linebacker. These are all the ones that are coming out from Alabama in this draft. And if we switch and go to Georgia, you're going to see and whatever. Hopefully your scouts have been out there, have brought you back film footage on these young men. And not just these men that we just mentioned, but around the country, because that's what they're supposed to be doing. And like I said, this will result, you'll get that based off what you're putting out. You put out good product, you can ask for more money. When you ain't putting out no good product, you don't deserve to ask for more money. You literally don't deserve to ask anybody to pay more for anything. And that's what's wrong. And that's a whole political thing, what we see right now in the United States. But I'm just telling you, for these organizations, you have a lot of good talent coming out. And this isn't just for the Giants. This is literally for Tennessee or anyone else. You have some talent coming out at this draft that you guys can pick that will improve your teams and leave some pretty big footprints.
Yeah, let's go. the draft is for everybody to get new people in. The
So let's talk about the NFC East here for now, right?
Yeah.
So you have two teams. They made it in the playoffs. They made it all the way to the
Yeah.
NFC Championship, which was your team,
And
the
what-
Eagles and the Washington Commanders. And you have the Cowboys and the Giants, who've both had an imploding season and didn't do well. So let's talk about what pieces you think which would be useful. Now, obviously, you guys just won a Super
Yeah.
Bowl, so you guys obviously have some things in place there
Well,
already, as far as like possibly repeat. Right? So, but if you keep with this draft, what would you like to see you guys grab that you think will absolutely maintain what you guys have established so far
well, a couple of people are
on your list?
couple of people on my list is retiring this year.
Retiring.
Yeah.
Hey, talking retiring. We talking bring some fresh talent in.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So just what position? We don't need a name. We just need a position
I believe the defense.
to maintain the number one defense.
The missing the number one defense. We got a couple of people retiring on the defense after. The offense line, hopefully, we're getting people come in with home. Yeah, this year, we're gonna defense, do number one defense out there, and then for the offense line, hopefully don't get hurt or they come up in the bathroom to go down. And I hope for an offensive lineman and a defensive lineman come into the
Okay, so you want to maintain the core of the franchise,
Yeah.
which is your offensive defensive line,
Yeah.
because the rest of the talent
Oh,
is going to
good.
take care of itself.
Yeah.
They're good. So for the Eagles, that's your mission,
Yeah.
is to pick up one or two pieces to help fill those who might be leaving and possibly repeat. Now let's go on to the Commanders. And the Commanders, they got their quarterback, and obviously he's not under no big contract yet. So they have salary cap space at this point in time. What would you suggest for them? Do you think they should go offense, or you think they should focus on defense? And what do you think, what piece should be added, whether it's offense or defense?
Go offense equally. Go offense line. Well, at the top offense line.
Really? I didn't see that.
That
Okay.
the defense. Need a little bit of help. The defense line.
Okay.
I don't know. They don't have a good defense lineman. No, not a good time. Okay. Like, Chris Young is the best protected at the defense lineman.
Right. But see that they had only one piece there, right?
Yeah.
And that's part of why
Yeah.
the defense
Break
wasn't
it
able,
apart.
they couldn't deal with
Yeah.
your offensive line. When we did, they talked about it during the game. The average weight size of your offensive line, massive compared to the Kansas City Chiefs D line. These guys average about 340 or 50 pounds in weight. Out of those five men there, they're much bigger, and it was harder to push those guys to get to Hurts. For me, what I see for Washington, what I would like to see is really on the offensive side. I think they need a decent running back, right? Not to take nothing away from their current running back, but injuries kind of plagued them in the regular season in that position, and so the quarterback was left with basically his arm to get them down the field. So a running back would be nice, and maybe a guard for the offensive line would be helpful, I believe. So those two pieces, I think, that would keep Washington on their pace to be competitive in their division and around the league. But then when we get into the two teams that we know that the owners just have not done right by their own franchises, we're going to go to the Cowboys next. And the reason why I say them, because obviously the Giants was the worst team in the division. But Prescott, right after you guys won a Super Bowl, said that they're next. That he really believes in his heart that they got all the components and pieces. Now, if I could have had that big giant hand that they used in Jackass, the movie and the TV show, I would have just been like, wow, because I know, but I had to paint the picture so you know what I was thinking in my mind. But I mean, come on, Prescott. Your fans, they're not. I know that they're not fit and they're not playing on the field with you guys, but these people are really smart and they invest a lot of their money so that you can play there for that organization, and they know football. Do not insult their intelligence. They would love nothing more for you guys to be possibly able to get to a Super Bowl, right? But you do need some pieces there. And this season, not like last season, much better team than this season. This season, you guys showed that you guys need some help around your team. So for me, pieces that I think that would be super helpful for the Cowboys would be, again, maybe 2 offensive linemen, a tackle, and a guard. Okay, so 2 pieces there on the offensive side. And then on the defensive side, you definitely need a good pass rusher. Something you guys have had in the past that you are missing in your formula to be competitive. So that's 3 players you guys should have on your list that you need to fill those slots. If you hear me, Jerry, I think.
Okay.
So what do you think that the Cowboys need?
What I think they need. Well, for okay, to do it. Pet guy. His contract.
That contract is killing that team. Literally.
We know,
killing him.
we know that the Cowboys is not getting rid of Pet guy.
Well, they can't at this point. They literally can't.
But
He has a no trade clause in his contract.
But
So
he could be the better quarterback. Okay?
he could.
He could be the better quarterback.
He could be.
But for me, if I ask you head coach of the Cowboys, put that Pet guy number 2. I believe it's over a new fresh or right up there. For me. Okay. That
Well, that's why I picked the 2 pieces on the offensive line, right? Because Prescott has been injured the last couple of seasons, and that seems to be almost a consistent thing. Because if I know you don't remember the days of Romo, but Romo stayed injured, right? He broke a ton of records for the Cowboys organization as a quarterback for them with his play, but staying healthy was another thing, and that starts with having a good offensive line. So Prescott will definitely, if he's going to be the franchise quarterback or starting quarterback, he needs a tackle and a guard there, and that would be a huge help for them so that they can be competitive. I don't think that'll get them to a championship, but it will allow for them to compete because you're building something, right? Because that's what it's all about. And then on the defensive side, you definitely need a pass rusher to disrupt the other team's offense and get them off the field at the time. So that's why I suggest 2 pieces play. So
okay, I know what for the Cowboys to do will never happen. Okay, let's talk about the real deal. Now, they need a good offensive line. They, a lot of people say, Pet could go down a lot. People have the Pet if he ever put he go down, like he get that a lot, right? Or he put it in his own team. What do you think it was?
interception.
Okay. He built a good offense like me would be a good key for Pet to get up on the defense line. The defense Probably a couple cornerback, maybe.
Well, no, they have
No,
some great defensive
no,
backs there.
no. One more good defensive back.
Well, he would have to
help.
be partial. He would have to be safety
Yeah,
slash nickel, right? He would have to
yeah,
be middle linebacker, right?
yeah,
Play both roles
yeah.
there in the center. And I would agree with that. I think if they picked up someone that plays his role, that would be a huge help for them. Now, the team that needs the most help in their division is the New York Giants. And the New York Giants, you need quite a bit, right? And again, not being funny or disrespectful. Offensive line pieces you guys need, but to be a quick fix without putting the band-aid on and making any silly moves that's just going to hurt you down the road, I would say you need a guard and a tackle as well, right? Two pieces on your offense. This is without breaking your wallet. And then defensively, which is what the Giants have always been known for, just like the Pittsburgh Steelers, you need a pass rush. And if you haven't seen what the Eagles did, you had 4 men. Remember, first time ever, and it was said in this Super Bowl, not my words, but by you. What you had was Tom Brady,
And Kevin
right? That you had 4 men that literally manhandled 5 to 6 men, right? Because Kansas City actually started bringing and putting a tight end there to try to help Mahomes, and it still wasn't helping him. Okay, those men, they wanted that championship, and not to take nothing away from the Eagles back end, because they did have some injuries back there, but they had decent people back there, but they didn't have to blitz. They didn't have to blitz in an entire Super Bowl. Just a 4-man pass rusher, and when we look at the days when Michael Strahan was there, and things of that nature, you had 4 men on that defensive line that was able to disrupt and get to the quarterback. And every time the Giants won a championship, you had 4 men on the defensive line. You need that. So to me, you need 2 of those, right, to go along with the other 2, because out of the 4, you definitely need 2.
Okay.
These guys will put pressure. This is a quick, simple fix. This makes your defense more competitive. It will disrupt offenses. Even if you're going against the number 1 offense, if the quarterback don't have time, he can't plant his feet, he ain't be able to stand back there, guess what? You're getting the ball back, they're punting, and they're getting off the field.
Okay.
2 defensive linemen, 1 defensive back. Take care of the defense. Obviously, first piece you need is a franchise quarterback. But even if that is something you're, and I know you guys are picky because I know you want someone like a Josh Allen.
Yeah.
I just know that's what you guys are looking for. If you're not able to retrieve that, okay, then there are other things you can do for now, but do not, on no circumstances, give somebody some stupid contract to come in there that they're blowing smoke up your rump to basically promise you the moon. It's not going to work.
Okay.
Keep it 1-year contract and then move on.
Okay. For me, they need a passing quarterback, but they don't need it right away.
They do. They need it right now. They needed it last year.
Hear me out, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So they don't need a good quarterback. Definitely, I think that year. The other need is a good defense. Defense will game people.
Yes, but here's the problem. The owner was only willing to give them this season, right? This 2025 season. That's all they were willing to give. Now, the way you prove to him that you probably, because maybe they can review your contract at the end of 2025, is what you do this season. And if you know, as a coach, you know before the GM and anyone else, because you are in that locker room with those players, you get yourself a defense that can compete.
There you go.
And they're getting that ball, they're getting turned, even if they're the main attraction and the fans are ecstatic because at least somebody is sacking quarterbacks and quarterbacks are throwing interceptions to your guys, guess what? The owner may have a change of heart.
Yeah.
And it might get you another season, right? And maybe then you can pick your quarterback and then possibly see yourself in the Super Bowl. So yeah, you might be right. I'm just saying,
That-
if they're not able to get that piece,
Yeah.
because they got a chance to get it, if you're not able to get that piece, then be smart again with the wallet and fill those pieces on the defensive side, because that will make an immediate impact. You want to see Hurts and them running for their life. I know you're a Eagles fan. You want to see them running for their life. You want to see Daniels brushing off the dirt off it and getting up off the field. You better get yourself a defense.
Defense, yeah, look at it's Liverpool.
Yeah, they single-handedly dominated that Super Bowl.
Defense, game, don't need a call about the draft. Would be me, yeah, a call. But, what, which more important? With a game, or have it, a quarterback.
Well, look, having him get injured doesn't help,
Yeah,
right? Because it's this, you're in the same position. And if you're gonna get him, like I said, if he's available, grab him. No question asked. Don't think. Hey, wait a minute. No, grab him, because when you get special talent, and this is the honest to God truth, when you get special talent, and I mean rare talent, like Barkley, he's a rare talent. He's just not no average running back. The guy is obviously gifted. He's at another level as an athlete. When that comes within your possession, you jump on it. You don't wait. And that's something you grab at that time and moment. Now, the Giants made sacrifices when they grabbed Eli. They gave up quite a bit. Matter of fact, they hurt for the next two drafts after that. But eventually, it resulted in them getting the championship. So he was worth it. So this is why you grab the talent when it's there. And you take care of that. But if it's not there and the other franchises beat you to it, right, then it is what it is. Now you got to improvise. And if you're going to improvise, then you got to be smart with your improvising on. And that means, okay, we don't get the guy that we want or wanted, but here's what we can do. If you already, and I'm talking to you, Joe, the GM, if you already blowing this draft, dude, you're gone. You're gone at the end of the season. Maybe you don't care, but I'm telling you, those Giants fans are going to follow you wherever you go. They're going to be on you, because you literally would have devastated that franchise for probably the next 5 to 6 years. So your picks in this draft is a very solid pick. You need to pick, and they need to be smart picks. And so get your quarterback and run with that. And then if you're not able to get your quarterback, then you fix your defense. And that means you get the best defensive player in this draft. And you want somebody that is going to make an impact.
Yeah, we know the head coach is often about that.
Yeah, but you know what? His offense offense. I mean, we've seen it with even with Mahomes and him with the Chiefs, right? The offense. Andy Reid called plays, and you had Steve Magnola on the defensive side, brilliant mind defensively. I'm surprised he didn't get a head coaching job somewhere around the league. Not unless the Chiefs made it literally impossible, gave him like a 10-year contract or something.
Maybe.
But as a defensive coordinator, the man wins championships. He got, 4, I think now? He got 4 with 2 different organizations. So at the end of the day, he knows football. And as a defensive coordinator, he plays a really good strategy when it comes to him going against the competition. My suggestion is, I'm not saying that you guys build a blitzing team. I say you build the New York Giants the way they were based off their entire franchise history. Those 4 men on that defensive side, and have them big an impact. And then your guys on the backfield step up and do what they can do to compete. And then eventually get yourself some decent defensive back talent back there. Put on the offensive side, you got Malik Neighbors. So you have a fantastic weapon there, a very gifted young man. You need a decent offensive line, and then you need somebody that can command that offensive line, and that's a decent.
Okay,
So.
let's talk about the Steve and here up there. I forget to eat for beer paw. Birkin, he was all over the league. He was equal defense, defense,
Coordinator.
coach forever. 2001 through 2006, at the league, he was good.
He had one time as a head coach
One
job,
time.
and then hasn't been back there again as a head coach. I think he would make a phenomenal head coach.
What he was.
But
Not.
it was with the Rams, and yeah, it wasn't that
And-
good. But
and not-
but at the end of the day, the Rams had some issues going on there. They had an owner that passed away. There was some things that was going on. It wasn't just him just being a coach. So I know if you just look at his record, it looks god awful. But I'm pretty sure even him himself, he knows that what he was given to work with, it wasn't right. So
He is a coordinator for captain in 2019. Appreciate 35. It's time to move to another team away from captain, hopefully not the end. But let's talk about what captain in the draft at the offseason.
okay,
The captain team is almost perfect, but they need a couple of key players. They need a lot defense core. The lot defense are not that good.
well, they had good wide
Yeah.
receivers. The problem was they wasn't able to stay healthy,
Yeah.
and that's why they had to do some free agent work in the middle of the season and trades to get people because their guys went down. So they could probably pick up a wide receiver in this draft. There's gonna be enough talent for them to grab from in this draft. I think they need a bookend defensive guy to help out with their defense there as a pass rush, and
Yeah.
I would probably say maybe a offensive guard or a tackle, which would be, I think, a big help for Mahomes and them. Andy Reid likes to keep the players on a much faster pace, meaning even when he was with the Eagles, your offense and defensive lines were not all necessarily big guys. He likes the speed, and so that's how he kind of built the Chiefs, because even when those offensive linemen, when they run screenplays, those guys can get out. They get out there pretty quick, and they get to their blocks, and they do what they need to do. So he's definitely likes a little bit smaller men. I don't see Andy Reid changing that as a head coach for the Chiefs. But I think a tackle or a guard would be quite useful for Mahomes. So he's not scrambling all over the place.
Well, whatever goes on about the league, the always could eat. They won.
After the Super Bowl, yeah.
What after the Super Bowl? They won. It already could eat. We had a rumor to talk about. But yeah, he come back. You know, talking who is a company who allowed the
We're
league.
gonna see who gets signed first and see what. I mean, right now, again, some of these guys they're gonna take the little break first,
Yeah.
right? Because some of these guys are gonna go spend time with their families,
Go
and
away.
then eventually,
Come back.
they're gonna come back and probably I'm gonna say sometime in March,
Mm-hmm.
next month,
Yeah.
they're gonna go back and get
Yeah.
with their agent and start really
Yeah.
shopping around to see where they can end up and what they can get, um, moving forward. I'm excited to see what this 2025 season is gonna bring, and see uh, how these teams unfold. What team do you think is going to be the most impacted now after the season's been over?
Well, the
So you know how we have like comeback player of the year.
eh,
So which team do you think is going to have that's going to
cut back.
be the surprise for the 2025 season?
Look like cover put up the yeah.
Is it the Raiders? Is it the Giants? The Titans? The Browns?
Well, I get at home.
The Saints?
I hope it they, but uh, kudo for him to get out again. But I will have to look. We be a team again. Both teams to get anyone out there to kill off.
Yeah, those are big markets, man. And there's so much money that flows through New York, and it's just a shame that that on the professional level, their professional franchises aren't better competitors considering the market. And you know, I mean, it's just disappointing as a fan for sports, to see that these, because we live in this region, they're just not just not developing enough to compete, whether it's football, basketball, baseball,
Hockey.
hockey, just not doing enough to really, bring a championship home to the Big Apple.
Happen if uh, we can we improve maybe
Dramatically,
maybe
I'm gonna say, what I'm gonna say it is, and you're gonna probably think I'm crazy because they're in that division. I'm gonna say the Raiders.
because
I think it's gonna be the Raiders. I think they will make a heck of a transformation, and they're gonna be a surprise come next year.
could be
Well, it's not just because of Pete Carroll. Remember, look, you got Tom Brady there.
Yeah.
He's a winner. The
yeah
guy, the guy is not gonna just stand by and just let the organization be mediocre. They're gonna want to build something there, and I believe that's gonna be the team to watch in that division with Mahomes, right? And all the coaches that's there. I believe you talk about Hall of Fame coaches
Hall of Fame
and future Hall of Fame possibly quarterbacks.
quarterback.
I'm just saying,
And
I expect that to be a big. The reason why I'm not saying the Bears and not to because the Bears obviously, um, uh, I was disappointed the way their season went because they're talented and they're gifted and they're capable.
Yeah.
And I believe now with their new head coach, we're going to see a quick transformation from them, and that division is going to get a lot tougher for Minnesota, the Packers, and Detroit, because now you're going to have true four teams competing in that division, and there's no if buts about it. And I'm not picking like Carolina and them because again, this team has already had began that process, so I'm not going to be surprised if they're quickly competing in their own division and possibly for a playoff spot come 2025. The teams that really had a really, really bad season, that it was just like there was no way these teams were winning 5 games in a season. And, there was just too much going on in their organization. I would say the Raiders.
Okay. Before we wrap it up, which team is going to be a decrease?
Which team I expect to see on the downside
Yeah.
next year?
This
is tough. I don't want to see a team on it. I know there's going to be somebody. There's going to be somebody. But I don't really want to see that. But if I had to pick a team that I think is still going to struggle and not be where they need to be.
You can't say New York.
I can't say New York?
No.
Okay. Well, I had already said them anyway.
Yeah. They got
Okay, so without New York. So let me just take a picture around the league real quick.
Okay.
Just give me a second. It ain't gonna take long. I am going to pick. I am going to pick. I'm going to pick the Dallas Cowboys.
Wow.
I'm going to pick them because, right, we're talking about a first-time head coach, and although he does carry a legendary name, he has never been in this situation, and that's different. And I'm not talking about. I mean, I know he was an offensive coordinator, but he didn't call plays. Like whatever his role was with the Cowboys, it was different than the regular coordinators, offensive defense around the league. He wasn't that guy. So I'm gonna say that's gonna be the team that is gonna probably surprise everybody and go the wrong way. Even though Jerry is saying, "Oh, his legendary name is gonna get us through it all," I don't believe that. It would be literally like them picking you or me to come run their franchise, and we don't have. There it is. Okay. Sorry, folks. But I say the Cowboys. And I'm not saying that to make fun of them or tease them. I just believe that he doesn't have that enough experience. Like Jerry would have to put enough pieces around him so he can go through the growing pains. And I think this season is going to be a proof of that.
Yeah.
And so I believe the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys would.
For me,
and rumors is that they really want a particular quarterback in 2025.
Okay.
So if they do suck, that's the motivation.
Okay.
So, and that came from ESPN.
Okay. For me, I gotta say, gonna be good for me. I believe good for me would be have an off year.
So you think they would have 2 bad seasons?
Yeah.
Back to back.
That go. The head coach.
Ooh, that's a bold prediction.
Okay, before that, free agent day, it was the 12th, it'd be at 4 o'clock, and we can't wait for that day to happen, so our team will move around, put everything will be changed around the league.
Yes.
They have to come in. The turn will be up today. If you are careful, turn on will be out foot. I will a picture of what happened at the league. Boy, it will be at the KK40R.
Yes.
We thank everyone. We thank everyone for at least 2040 year. It already begin. The 2040 is already begin right now.
Ready to kick it off already.
Oh boy, go to free and you begin now. Well, we thank you. We thank you for watching this one talk after the Super Bowl. Talk about free agency,
coaching,
franchise
ownership,
the left, the community.
Yes.
We thank you for a minute year. It will see you all there.
Yes.
There.
Thank you guys for tuning in.